Alright, it has been a really long time since an update because I was royally laid out on my ass for almost 2 weeks. Trying to remember completely where I left off with everything. So we ended up going to the neurosurgeon, and I think I had talked about this, and they had thought trigeminal neuralgia, which is kind of what we were thinking anyway for ages now, you know, because someone actually bothered to listen to me. And so he put me on a medication called, I think it's called Tegretol. Yeah, that one, Tegretol. And that one just fucked me up. There's no other way to say it. So basically for 10 days, I was completely laid out on my ass. What it was is that you start off with a low dose, and because the side effects are so heavy and so great, you have to slowly work your way up to the full dose. So every 2 days I was upping my dose. I think I started on 400 milligrams and we were trying to get to 1200. All right, you know, doctor's orders. This guy listens. So he's a goddamn neurosurgeon at GW. So, you know, he does know his stuff. It was bad. It was really, really bad. Like, imagine the worst, the absolute worst hangover of your life. Triple that. Then throw on some drunk goggles. I was so horribly miserable. Like, I have Meniere's disease. I know what it is to have equilibrium problems, to have lots of dizziness and lightheadedness and my whole head just being completely off. And I usually know how to deal with it. So this was something else. This was a bird of a different color. I could barely walk at all. Some days I couldn't even get out of bed, which was really hard because of the dogs, getting them fed and taken care of, and I couldn't take them out. So, I had to wait for Dan to get home, and that's just really hard, and they shouldn't have to wait that long. And it's not like anyone else is free during the day to come help me out because, you know, we've all got jobs and trying to function and make sure to take care of our own lives and what have you. So, you know, it's hard. Very, very hard. I somehow didn't throw up the entire time, which was good, but I kind of knew, like, don't move your head, stay in dark environments. Like, again, I'm a war veteran of Meniere's. Like, this is nothing new for me. However, this was far worse than any Meniere's I've ever had. It's such a toss-up of what was worse. Was it the pain? Which you can very well see in my very first video, is a flare-up, which when I talk about them, they are not a joke. They are not a joke in any way, shape, or form. They are brutal, and they wreck you. But the thing is, they only lasted an hour, 2 hours. This whole dizziness, equilibrium, my tinnitus was going so nuts. It would just start screaming. It's 24/7. Like, I don't know which is worse. Like, it's seriously a toss-up. So basically, when I finally got to the full dose, damn, this breakage just sucks. Sorry, I've always been so happy with the fact of, oh, I have such great resilient hair. It's so wonderful, and it always looks great, and blah, blah, blah. And like, anesthesia wrecked it. But that's okay. We'll get it back. It'll just take some time. You know, my vainness is still there. My vanity. But, so when I finally got to the full dose, it actually got way worse, like so much worse. Like, it would, when I would get to like the end of like a dose before the next day when I would start a new dose, it would kind of teeter off a bit, and I could start like maybe at least getting downstairs, you know, or at least getting to the couch instead of just staying in bed. But, when I got to that full dose, it wrecked me so bad. And when I got to the end of the second day, it still didn't lessen up. Third day didn't lessen up at all. Fourth day, I just wanted to fucking commit murder. Like, where I am now compared to just, 4 or 5 days ago? Night and day. Night and day. So I took it upon myself to go 400 milligrams less. And ever since, I have been walking, moving. I can't tell you how grateful it is, like, how grateful I am just to walk. Like, I've had this feeling before, you know, when I got through my hips, and that was so horrible. And here I am having to do it again, and it's just like, guys, don't take this shit for granted. Like, if you are healthy and you are well, don't take this shit for granted. Or if you've got some minor shit, like, get yourself treated, work on it, get through it. Just don't take health for granted. Do not. I've been taking baby steps, kind of getting back into moving. Today, this is Friday, so Sunday that was the last day of completely being just effed. Today's Friday. I'm first time driving in about a month, I would say. Dan's been driving me pretty much to all my doctor's stuff and taking care of me, and, you know, he is dealing, this is a lot. It's a lot for anybody, but it's a lot for the spouse, and a lot of folks don't always think about that or remember that or what have you, but it's a lot for the spouse, especially when they work 2 jobs, especially when they have to deal with the dogs and the cat and deal with everything. Like, bless his fucking heart. Like, I know I found the keeper, that's for sure. You know, and I don't take that for granted. This kind of shit really makes you appreciate this, like, well, he's not the small thing, but just in general, small things in life, like, just the small victories. And, you know, sometimes that's just getting up and moving. So again, baby steps, kind of getting back to moving. I did take one day where literally I played Lego Jurassic World for 12 hours straight and beat the game. It was just like, I felt like so much shit, and here I could finally sit up and actually do something. Like, that's the hardest thing with this whole dizziness bullshit. It's like, you don't really want to watch anything or do too much, like, because it's still kind of, even getting your head up sometimes is hard. So I go back to the neurosurgeon on Monday, and I'm going to talk to him about everything. I did leave him a message this week to let him know I did drop the dose, because I know he just met me, but the other thing is that I'm so sensitive that this could have just been something where, like, maybe go up a dose every week, something like that. More baby stepped for me than the average person. So, but, you know, it is what it is. And hey, I may still have to go up a dose, which would put me at 1,000, and I might be able to handle that. That's something I was thinking about adding tonight to see how I am tomorrow, because tomorrow I have the ability just to like level out, lay out, all that, which would be good. Now, next week is when I go back to work, is when I'm planning to go back to work. I really have to, because my disability ran out. I'm still waiting for approval for 2 more weeks because I need to get paid. Luckily, our taxes hit, so we haven't been completely effed. Like, we're not in a great spot, like, really. We wrecked our cars last year. Like, we still have debt, and then all this medical stuff. Like, I literally yesterday just finished paying off my surgery from November, and I'm still paying off my crown. And I mean, I had to throw the MRI $1,000 straight on a credit card, which is like the worst thing to do. But what, at the moment, what could I do? And you know, and now I owe $520 for the emergency room visit. I'm still getting bills for all these other things, which insurance is not covering. Also, be very, very thankful if you've got insurance. Seriously, like, I don't know what I would have done without this, having the benefits through work and all of that. Like, again, I'm trying to count my blessings here of just like, this could have been so much worse. I'm not saying any of this is easy, because it's not. I'm going through fucking hell. But at the same time, it's like, there are others who have it worse. And I think it's so important to keep an idea of that perspective. So I see the neurosurgeon Monday. I did see an ENT doctor this last Monday because I just wanted to make sure there was nothing going on, because I've always had this pressure. I wanted to make sure there was nothing going on that could have been putting the pressure either on something else to cause the inflammation of the trigeminal nerve to fire. I mean, typically trigeminal neuralgia is caused by an artery inflaming or enlarging and just putting pressure on that nerve. So the doctor did say, you know, it sounds like, well, let me go back. The ENT doctor was saying that it doesn't look like my Meniere's is affecting it at all. It doesn't look like that I'm having any issues there. And he took a look at the MRI and everything. So he just didn't really have anything for me, but he thought it was a good idea to check it out because it wasn't crazy. And one thing I can say, my God, that doctor listened to me. He was thoughtful and thorough. He was very, like, I was so appreciative. I still came out there with such a great attitude and, like, mood afterwards. It was crazy. Even though he couldn't help me or, like, figure it out. I mean, he flat out said, I'm not sure what's going on, but I think you are on the right track with, you know, getting a new neurologist and then continuing with a neurosurgeon. So I do know that if I ever have issues with my Meniere's or with ears or throat or nose or any of that stuff, he'll be the guy I go to. He will now. And if you want to know his name, Dr. Gurian, and he's with the ear, nose, and throat specialist of Northern Virginia, and he was amazing, and he's in Manassas. So if I ever need him, that's who I'm going to. I did go ahead and make a new appointment with a new neurologist, because the neurosurgeon thought that there were definitely other things going on. I think I figured out exactly what my issue with my arms and hands and legs have been for the last 10 years. I've always had this thing, like, and this is typically what I would call a flare-up. Well, not a flare-up compared to my head flare-ups. That's a whole nother animal. That is the worst thing of pain I've ever experienced in my life. This is a different kind of flare-up, which can actually ignite my face stuff and my head stuff. So they can sometimes play very much hand in hand. I used to get it extremely when I was going through my hip recovery and all my hip crap. But basically, I would have this thing where I get pins and needles, either in my hand or my foot or something like that. It would start to get really painful and numb and just radiating pain, shooting pain, just bad. And it would go up my leg or up my hand, and then it would kind of light up more stuff. And no doctor's ever been able to figure it out. But then again, I haven't had a neurologist doing this. And I'm looking it up, and it's just like, okay, peripheral neuropathy. That's exactly what that is. It performs exactly the same way. It does the exact same thing. Do you want to know what it's caused by? Many things. Diabetes, things like that. For me, it says something, exposure to poisons or toxins. Okay, when I'm a fetus in the womb being injected with heroin, what do you think that's doing to especially of my nervous system? Just wrecking it before it even has the full ability to form. which is just like, God. And then I was on methadone when I got out, and I had to stay in the hospital for like a month. Not to mention I had a few other things, but I don't really know the details of that because I was very much shut out of my health background. And then the extreme exposure to mold and feces for 21 years in that hoarding house. And when I talk about it, like, you guys are probably thinking it's not that bad, or like there's just a lot of junk, or they bought a lot of stuff. No. Find anybody who helped us clean that house out after Mom and Dad died. They will tell you. We could have been on Hoarders. Or it would actually have been worse than a lot of folks on that show. How crazy is that? Mold everywhere. I mean, it was filth. Just extreme filth. And then no nutrition. Like scavenging like a freaking animal. Like, not a lot of people know my background. Not a lot of people know how I grew up. And I was raised very differently from my brother, so... very, very differently. So it was rough. It was very rough. It was hard to go from one prison. I got out at 19. It was hard to go from one prison to another, which I hated that house so much. I hated just so much sadness, so much hate, so much anger. I want to let it go, but it's crazy because the more I'm finding out about my health, the harder it is, which makes me feel crappy because my parents are dead and I don't want to feel that way about them. But it's like, I know Marguerite was leeching off you and really wrecked your lives, but this wasn't right because it wrecked mine. And I'm dealing with it I'm dealing with this for the rest of my life. But anyway, I digress. I rabbit trail off. It's hard not to get emotional. It's like I hid my emotions for 20 years and then suddenly it all just came pouring out and I've never been able to freaking shut it off since. But peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. A hell of a lot of sense to me. Nerve damage. And I probably have extreme amounts of it. Probably everywhere. Probably. So, I went ahead and made an appointment with a new neurologist. I looked up on health grades and read a ton of reviews and just was trying to find what was best. So hopefully this guy listens and hopefully we can get somewhere with the peripheral neuropathy. And if that is what it is, guess what? That is way more of a case for fibromyalgia. Jesus, I got distracted. Sorry. It's way more of a case for disability than fibromyalgia would ever be. Because it's showing up as something real, something like damage. Like it's actual damage. Now, it's not to say like, I mean, I still suffer from fatigue more than the average person. It's not so bad that I have CFS like I've seen with some extreme cases, but I've got nowhere near what other folks got at all in my reserves whatsoever. I've treated this disability as fibromyalgia for almost 10 years, and it acts so similarly. It's nerve issues. So it's like, I get what every fibromyalgia person has, what they feel, what they go through. Like, oh honey, I get it. We're going through the same things, but mine's just caused by something different. So, hopefully we can get somewhere with that. Like, I don't want to be disabled. I don't want to be on disability, but like, I can't, full-time is killing me. For 10 years, it's been killing me. Like, I have got this insane will to keep going of just this survival mechanism, because frankly, it's all I've had my entire life. I've always had to survive. I've never really lived any other way. So it's, and then when I do, like when I do have things maybe calm down, although this really hasn't calmed down in the last 10 years, it's very strange and I almost don't know what to do. But again, that's such a rare occurrence that I don't even really deal with that. So that's where we are. That's where we are. I still feel weird about that MRI, though. I won't lie. Like, even though I talk to doctors and they're like, I mean, that can be normal with seeing, they think it's blood vessels, what I thought was the schwannomas. I mean, because they look like growths to me. And the way, I won't even get into it, but if for any reason I still feel funky kind of through this, or things aren't fully working or what have you, I might go to a cardiologist just so I can sleep a little better at night. But hopefully this trigeminal neuralgia medicine keeps me from flare-ups, and then hopefully I can go back to work and be okay. Because I just spent, oh yeah, because, you know, none of this is cheap. I just spent $80, which again, I didn't really have, but what do you do on these fuckers? Because guess what? These are anti-strain computer glasses. Not exactly my favorite frame, but what do you do? If this helps, who cares? I mean, I'm trying to do everything I can. None of this is with lack of effort. And hopefully I'm just continued to be listened to. So, keep your fingers crossed I don't go fucking batshit in my head at all. And I think that we are closer to an answer than I've ever been in 10 years. That's huge. That is huge. I just got to keep at it. Don't get me wrong, my last post, which I was in a whirlwind of emotion of just, I felt very defeated in that moment. I mean, when you're bedridden for fucking almost for 10 days, I mean, it was horrible. It's fucking horrible. It was worse than any flu, worse than anything I've ever dealt with. So hopefully we're on the right track and we can go from there. So I'm trying to decide if I want to keep doing these videos on YouTube or if I want to start doing them like on Instagram, but I feel like YouTube is so much easier to get it all out, to say it all, and all of it. So I think I'll probably still do it this way. Maybe just start sharing a little bit more through the other ways, but we'll figure it out. As for now, I am going to go watch The Lion King because I'm 5 and I want to. Till next time.